We all know how this story ends: a final breath, a quiet room, the stillness that follows, death. But what if that ending wasn't the end? What if death wasn't a wall, but a doorway? What if consciousness continues, somewhere else, doing something else, even after the body is gone? This isn't science fiction. It's not wishful thinking. It's the central question in one of the most mysterious and profound texts ever written, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And it asks us something bold. Does death actually exist? What is the Tibetan Book of the Dead? It's not a book in the traditional sense. It's a guide, a sacred roadmap written over 1,200 years ago in the Vajrayana Buddhist tradition. Its real name, Bardo Thodol, which means liberation through hearing in the intermediate state. It's not meant to be read after someone dies. It's meant to be read aloud, to the dying, and after death. Because according to Tibetan Buddhism, consciousness doesn't stop. It continues, moving through stages, realms, possibilities. These stages are called the bardos, the in-between states: life, death, rebirth. And if we recognize what's happening while it's happening, we can wake up, break free, and escape the cycle of rebirth altogether. The text was hidden for centuries, passed down through oral tradition, from teacher to student, master to disciple, each generation adding their understanding, their insights, their direct experience of what lies beyond, the moment of death. The book begins at the moment the body dies. And here's where it gets wild. Tibetan Buddhists say the first thing that dies is your earthly awareness, but not your mind, not yourself. You begin to drift, weightless, timeless, disoriented. You enter the first bardo, the moment of death itself. And what happens here is crucial, because if you realize, truly realize, that everything around you is an illusion, that even you are an illusion, you can become free, enlightened, liberated. But most of us, we miss that moment. We cling, we panic, we don't recognize the illusion. And so, we move forward. The text describes this transition in vivid detail, how the elements within your body begin to dissolve. Earth into water, water into fire, fire into air, air into consciousness. Each dissolution brings its own sensations, its own visions, its own opportunities for awakening. But it's happening fast, too fast for most to catch. The second stage is called the Chonyid Bardo, the bardo of experiencing reality. And this is where things get intense. You're no longer in a body. You're in a dreamscape of your own mind. At first, there is light, radiant, blinding, pure awareness. It's terrifying. It's unfamiliar. It's what liberation actually looks like. But most souls don't go toward it. Instead, they turn away, and then the visions come. Deities, Buddhas, demons, mirrors of your own karma. The Tibetan Book of the Dead says, these are not real. They are projections of your own mind. If you recognize that, if you remember, you can be liberated here too. But again, we often don't. We mistake the visions for reality. We fall into fear. We react, and we move on. The text describes 49 different deity appearances, some peaceful, some wrathful, each representing different aspects of enlightened consciousness. The peaceful deities come first, offering gentle paths to liberation. But when we don't recognize them, the wrathful deities appear, more intense, more demanding, forcing us to confront our deepest fears and attachments. They're not punishing us. They're trying to wake us up. Rebirth. Now comes the third stage, the Sidpa Bardo, the bardo of becoming. You begin to feel drawn, pulled, back into form. You may see families, bodies, wombs. Your next rebirth is being selected, not by fate, but by your own karmic tendencies. Where your attention goes, you follow. And just like that, you're born again. But even here, the text offers guidance, instructions on how to choose wisely, how to avoid lower realms, how to enter a favorable rebirth. The key, mindfulness, even in the chaos of becoming. Even as you're being pulled into form, you can still choose, still direct your consciousness, still influence what comes next. Is this metaphor or map? South, let's step back. Is all this literal? Are there really bardos, deities, energy forms, or is it something else? Some believe the Bardo Thodol isn't a map of the afterlife. It's a map of the mind. Everything described. The panic, the visions, the light, the rebirth. It happens in life too. Every moment of confusion, every moment of clarity, every emotion, every ego death. It's all practice for dying well. Because in Buddhism, the line between life and death isn't solid. It's porous. It's always shifting. Think about it. How many times have you died already? The person you were at 5, at 15, at 25, gone, transformed, reborn into someone new. Each transition a mini bardo, each ending an opportunity to wake up. Western science meets Tibetan wisdom. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Some neuroscientists studying near-death experiences report similar stages. Tunnel vision, light, disembodiment, life reviews, a feeling of unity. These echo the bardos. Are they just brain chemistry, or are they glimpses of a deeper process? The Tibetan view doesn't care. It says, you don't have to know. What matters is how you prepare, not by fearing death, not by clinging to life, but by waking up to this moment, to your mind, to the illusion. Modern research into psychedelics also reveals similar patterns. The dissolution of ego, encounters with otherworldly beings, visions of light and unity. As if consciousness itself follows certain universal pathways, certain archetypal experiences, whether triggered by death, meditation, or molecules. The ancients knew this. They mapped these territories long before we had brain scanners. The point isn't to escape death. It's to understand it. The Bardo Thodol doesn't promise eternal life. It doesn't deny death. It offers something more radical. Clarity. It says, yes, your body will die. Your thoughts will scatter. Your name will fade. But beneath all that, there is something deeper. Not a soul, not a person, but awareness itself. And if you can remember that, even in the moment of dying, you can wake up. This isn't about immortality. It's about recognition. Recognizing what you truly are, what you've always been. Pure consciousness, playing at being human. For a while. How we practice while alive. So how do you prepare? You meditate. You observe the mind. You get used to change. Because the bardos aren't just for the dead. They're happening right now. Every time something ends, every time you fall asleep, every time you lose a job, a friend, an identity. That's a bardo. You enter, you drift, you emerge. And with each passage, you get stronger, clearer, less attached. The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to stop fearing what ends. The Tibetans developed specific practices. Dream yoga, learning to lucid dream. Sleep yoga, maintaining awareness through sleep. Meditation on impermanence, watching everything arise and pass away. Each practice a rehearsal, each rehearsal building familiarity, with the space between thoughts, the gap between breaths, the pause between moments. That's where the bardos live, in the spaces between. So, does death exist? We began with a question. Does death exist? The Tibetan Book of the Dead would say, yes and no. Yes, your form ends. Yes, your life story wraps up. But death, as we think of it, as an ending, a void, a forever silence, that might be a misunderstanding. From the Tibetan view, death is a transformation, a threshold, a mirror, not an enemy to fight, but an experience to understand. And if we prepare for it, if we truly understand it, it might just set us free. Death exists as change exists, as waves exist in the ocean. They rise, they fall, they return to the source. But the ocean remains, vast, unchanging, eternal. That's what you are, not the wave, the ocean. So when that final breath comes, when the mind begins to fade, you won't panic, you won't grasp, you won't fear. You'll watch, you'll recognize, and maybe you'll wake up. Because death isn't the end of you. It's the end of forgetting who you are. The Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't just about dying. It's about living, fully, consciously, awake. Every moment is practice, every breath a rehearsal, every ending a doorway. And when the final curtain falls, you'll be ready, not to escape, but to remember what you've always been, what you'll always be. Awareness itself, playing hide and seek, with itself. The game is almost over. Time to stop hiding. Time to come home.